Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and as I told you earlier today, I got to finally watch the Corey Feldman documentary, My Truth, The Rape of Two Coreys. What he did is he kind of put it on a 24-hour loop for everybody who had paid for it, and although, as I told you guys, it was what I expected, it was a film that really didn't out anybody that wasn't paying attention. It wasn't the Spielberg reveal that a lot of people on message boards thought it would be, but what it was a powerful film about child abuse on many levels in Hollywood that is going to bring people together and make them aware of this issue. And to help me talk about that is Gary Franchi from Next News Network that didn't just watch it online, actually went to the premiere, met Corey Feldman, saw it before I did, saw it before most did, and Gary, I felt like this is a film that sits up there with things like An Open Secret, that sits up there with things like even America, Freedom to Fascism, in a way to get people to at least be aware of these issues. So, first of all, tell my audience about yourself. I know that you guys have the YouTube page over here, and you guys are kicking out, I mean, sometimes 7 to 20 videos a day on numerous subjects, but to actually go and see this, obviously this was important.
Well, to start off, there were certainly similarities as far as movements are concerned to America, Freedom to Fascism. Now, as you know, that's where I started with Aaron Russo, helping him with the distribution at the grassroots level of his film, America, Freedom to Fascism, which mirrored your film, Loose Change, in how it was distributed. Now, those two films sparked a movement, and I believe the ramifications, the ripple effect of those films that you were involved in and I was involved in many years ago, the ripple effect is still being felt today, even at the highest levels of government now in the Oval Office. I would go that far to say. But to watch this film be distributed in the way that Corey Feldman did was through online, millions of people watching. Of course, we were watching it in the theater. I think there are a lot of parallels. And I do believe that this film is going to spark a movement, a larger movement, and really affect change inside Hollywood, where children are systematically being abused. They have been abused for generations. And one thing that I really took away from this film, there was a generational message that was presented, that this has been going on for so long in Hollywood. How he talked about the specific actors going back many, many years, to the black and white and silent eras of film, where children were brought into these Hollywood studios and they were, brought in through, the parents or different managers, and how they were handled. And then this trust was passed off from the parents to these managers, where these children would be given, plentiful amounts of alcohol and hard drugs. And that's a lot of times where these adults who are supposed to be watching the children for the parents were in fact the ones who were creating the greatest amount of abuse. And, I don't know if you want to get into the identity that was revealed in the film.
Mm-hmm. Well, I already have.
So the fact is that was information that was revealed in 2017.
That's right.
Now, here's my takeaway, because people have been, hey, this is already known. This is not a new thing. No surprise here. My takeaway is that what we witnessed in that film were individuals going on the record, corroborating stories, and putting down the significant evidence and making declarative statements against the individual, which is different than what was presented before, which were simply dismissed and swept under the rug.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. Number one, the only outlet that was publishing that story was the National Enquirer. So right there are some people that are going to discredit it altogether, even though they're the ones that exposed John Edwards and then really have had the beat on many national stories. Yes, is it a rag? Is it a tabloid? Is it sometimes publishing stuff just for fun or entertainment? 1,000%. But obviously that was not one of those pieces. And what this does is it not only lets you know about that event, but really lets you know the trauma from that event. There was, I'm not going to name exactly what happened, but there was a point where Corey Feldman's talking about, a great day with him and Corey Haim and their fathers on a beach and having a good time, and then they're alone and something bizarre happens. I'm not going to say what it is, but you can definitely tell that, well, that is something that would happen if you've been physically abused literally since you were 13 years old and you don't know any better. And I think that not only the way that the story was told, that other people coming in, you talked about that golden age, Mickey Rooney, Judy Garland, other names kind of coming out there, but props to the director who actually kind of plays a role in this to humanize everything and put it in a narrative that I think just about anybody can sit down and watch. And now all of a sudden it isn't rumors, it isn't a story in passing. It's something that can affect people.
I agree. And I think there were solutions presented into this that are laws that can be enacted. I mean, they went to the Screen Actors Guild and they said, look, we have information, something needs to be done. And they went through that whole actionable event and how individuals who have been abused in Hollywood can take appropriate steps. They went in, of course, to the legal aspect, the laws and bills that have been passed in California and now I believe in New York as well, to help bring those who have been abused, give them justice, and of course, bring justice to those who are doing the abuse. I think there was another point there in the film. Corey Feldman, he comes out, which was quite shocking. I think when we were watching the movie, he stops the film. He stopped the film cold in the middle of the like right before the reveal, I should say. And this was because there were streaming issues.
Yeah,
a lot of people freaking out online. And he came out, and I pulled out my phone. I started doing some live streaming right there to try to bring information out from within. And he was very concerned about the fact that the people who were watching it in the theater would learn the truth before the individuals who were watching online. He felt that was not fair because once the word gets out, the word gets out. And he didn't want people to be disappointed because now they find out and whatever. So there was a big debate inside the theater. People were concerned about that point, and if he should bring it forward. In a bizarre moment, Rosanna Arquette rushes the stage, and she says, we've been waiting long enough. You better bring us this news and this information right now." And I was distracted because Dave Navarro is sitting 2 seats away from me, and I'm talking to him, and he's talking to me about my picture with President Trump he sees on my cell phone. Mm-hmm. And so we're like getting distracted. So I'm too busy. This is just bizarre world.
Yeah.
I'm talking to Dave Navarro. Rosanna Arquette is screaming at Corey Feldman as we're about to learn the identity of the individual who raped Corey Feldman. I mean, think about being in that room for a moment.
Corey Haim.
Or Corey Haim, excuse me. And then eventually, I shouted, "So let's go. The show must go on. Let's make this happen. We came here from a long distance, at least I did, flying in from Chicago with my wife, and they presented the film. So it was pretty remarkable experience to be there, witnessing it with everybody in real time, and you could feel the emotion in the room. And also, I think what was very important was the story of Ricky Garcia.
Yes.
And I remarked to my wife, I said, that movie, that documentary could not have been made without Ricky Garcia. If he didn't have that story to present, it would have fallen flat. I think people just felt like it was a Corey Feldman piece where he's just talking about his own experiences with Corey Haim, but corroborating the systemic abuse in Hollywood by presenting the Garcia story was also it helped balance the piece, I think.
Well, I would say that there's two other things that I think are pretty notable about the film. You talk about Ricky Garcia, and you talked about the past people that he's discussing during the wrap-up of this film. But he also brings up Bella Thorne, and I've done a lot of work on Bella Thorne and Disney, and her coming out and saying from her first memories of being 6 years old, she was raped for 8 years by various people until she was 14. And those are pretty graphic videos. So that, along with Ricky Garcia and his abuse as like this Disney boy band promoted child, I thought was not only good, but then, like you said, solutions. And the fact that, Corey Feldman, love him, hate him, believe he was abused and he's a charlatan, etc. It doesn't really matter. He helped real legislation get passed for real victims. And now, the message of the film is, look, if you have been abused, now is the time to come forward. And I totally agree. And gives people, the information about SAG and how to contact them, because he goes and he contacts SAG. He sits in and they say, well, we need more than just one allegation. That's how we were able to get Weinstein. Well, I got to be honest, Gary. Number one, I didn't think they were going to convict the guy. And if they did, I thought he was going to a Rosemary prison for 15 months. He got sentenced to 23 years today. And that shows you that even the most powerful and disturbed individuals can be taken down if people are persistent enough. So, just wrapping it up, what do you think other people, first of all, what do you think the future is for this film? How should it be distributed? What do you think he's going to do? I think that it would be great to be on a Netflix because that's a wide audience, sure. But I think as a freebie on YouTube, or on Vimeo, just like an Open Secret did, you could get that viral nature, and hopefully he's recouped enough funds where he would take that into consideration.
Yeah, I would advise him to do something like that along those lines, similar to how your film was distributed on Google Video and Russo's film on Google Video. And by doing that, those films were able to be embedded in the American culture and help change for the better. So I think that if he's recouped his expenses, then by all means, let it free. I do know he is looking for larger distribution, and he may just get that. But one of the other things I wanted to talk about was how disturbing the story from Ricky Garcia was about how these children are left unattended in the care of these managers. Mm-hmm. And that's really where a lot of this abuse is occurring. And one of the points that was brought up was that, what are you going to do? That this is happening on your set, and then they're going to come and shut down the whole production. So everyone just kind of keeps quiet. They look the other way because they're all concerned about the production. They're all concerned about making their money, and they don't care who the victims are. Mm-hmm. And that really, when you think about Hollywood films and how much we love the special effects and the stories and all these things that we've enjoyed as children growing up, and even the latest blockbuster films, you wonder now. Everything has been thrown into doubt. What is happening on these sets that we don't know about, mm-hmm. right? So I'm really happy that Corey was able to bring these points to light, and I really hope his film is able to have wider distribution. Personally, like the methodology that you and I took with Russo and Loose Change, America, Freedom of Fascism, releasing it into the wild and letting it live there is going to be the most effective tool he can use.
I 100% agree. It's Next News Network. You can go subscribe over at youtube.com/Next News Network. You can also follow them on Twitter. Remember, guys, I'm doing it 3 to 7 times a day live. I got the GoFundMe, monthly $5, $10, $15. It means the world to me. I'm doing these coronavirus updates. They're not videos I like to do, but obviously this is very real, and they're having effects on all of us. This is a global situation, so we're going to continue to do those. I'm also on Rockfin, $9.99 a month. Gets you 5 extra videos a week. And you can also follow me on Twitter, where I am a documentary filmmaker. Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture, all free on my YouTube. Make sure you're thumbs up and subscribe. It's in the documentaries playlist section. Love you guys. See you on the flip.